Bradford, England. A wrong turn on the road to nowhere. A festering open sore on the backside of England. Like pitching a tent inside of a hobo's ass, where the beer tastes like piss, and even the rats are looking for a way out. But I guess we have no control of the town we're born in, or the people we're born to. Case in point. Meet one Frankie Smith. And I don't know what Frankie thinks about Bradford and its smell, 'cause she ain't exactly talking. But sometimes, when you're brought up with an odor all around you, you grow to like it. But you'd figure when she had a kid, she'd want a less fragrant location. Banged up by her boyfriend when she was only 16 and he left town to go to university. By all accounts, she started out a good mother, but somehow lost her way. Meet one Savannah Brockhill, occupation, bouncer. And I could see that, she's got one of those faces if you throw a brick at it, it'll bounce. An amateur boxer who had a face like a pit bull chewing on a mouthful of wasps. But the girl who still played with dolls until she was 16, with an IQ of 70, and no one imagined was gay, was besotted. Those who knew Brockhill say that she was predatorial, and she was nasty. Frankie was now frequenting bars with her mother, leaving the kid with friends. And when Brockhill wasn't cracking skulls in front of clubs, she was pulling pubes from her teeth. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. But this is Bradford. They don't wax. Star's great-grandfather testified that the moment Savannah Brockhill entered their life, it was over.
Guys and girls need to remember the fact that Frankie is with me. She keeps getting a lot of message requests and friends requests she's not going to accept. Especially tramps like yous. And if you want to keep your kneecaps, I suggest you stop sending her them.
And it seemed the only thing bigger than her ass was her mouth.
She's with the #1 psycho.
Star, who had taken her father's name, was like many other 1.5-year-olds in this world. Bubbly, precocious, learning about life around her, finding her feet in this world. The child split her time, spending half of it with her mother in Brockhill, and the other half with her great-grandfather. It's easy to see who the child enjoyed being with more, and this didn't go unnoticed amongst family and friends. While staying with her great-grandfather, she was full of life, but when returned to her mother and minge-munching lover, well, she looked like a flea on a burning kitten. It was at this time that family and friends who followed the couple on social media began seeing what can only be described as disturbing videos. One of which the baby fell out of her chair and banged her face on the side of a table, leaving blood spurting from her lip, and the lesbo lovebirds can be heard laughing in the background. And they even slowed it down and added music before posting it. One big pathetic joke. It was at this time that several people, friends, family members, had seen the videos and reported them to child services. But remarkably, the agency, already under heavy public scrutiny for not being fit for purpose, didn't show up until a couple of weeks later. And when they did, Savannah defended herself, saying they were being picked on because they were lesbians and that they were going to report it. Child Protection Agency left and did nothing. It was when Frankie's great-grandfather picked up Star for one of their regular visits where he'd keep the child for a month or two. And he got her into his car, and she'd fallen asleep. He noticed that she had a bruise on the side of her face that looked like a boot or a shoe and a black eye. And although Frankie told him the kid had fallen in the bath, he knew better, and he reported it to Child Services. He told them that he had a reason to be concerned and that his granddaughter, who had an IQ of only 70, was being manipulated by her lesbian lover, and he thought that there was abuse going on within the home. And although now they'd had over 50 complaints pertaining to Star, Child Protection Services put it down as a malicious report and filed it away and didn't check up on it. I guess they figured because lesbians were such good people, they never abused anybody. Star's death clock was not ticking. And when Frankie and Savannah had found out that Star's great-grandfather had reported them, they took the kid back. And when he asked for some sort of explanation, they gave him the high hat and then ghosted him. and he never saw Star again.
Ambulance service, is the patient breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing.
Is she conscious?
Yeah. She's a bit of both, really. Basically, it's my partner's daughter. It's my little girl as well. I brought her up. We've got all 3 children here playing, and I was in the kitchen making a coffee, and they've been in the living room, and I heard a bang. So I came out, and the little lad stood there, and the little girl's on the floor, and she was crying, and then she stopped crying, and then she was sick, and now she's just a little bit floppy, to be honest with you.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. When the ambulance arrived and the attendants found Star unresponsive, the 2 lovers tried to convince him that she'd been hurt by one of the other children. But they weren't buying it, because in their own words, it looked like the child had been hit by a bus, and then it backed up, and it did it all over again. When they took the kid and they got her on the slab, if there were any doubts, well, they were put to rest. Because Star's injuries were brutal. Massive internal bleeding, loose teeth, a punctured lung, with one of her arms having multiple fractures that appeared to have been twisted. Several witnesses had seen Frankie grocery shopping in town a week earlier, screaming at her daughter, who refused to stand up. The coroner's report confirmed it was because the child's leg was severely fractured. And it wasn't a case of not wanting to stand up, but not being able to. Star was pronounced dead at the scene, and shortly afterwards, officers charged the mother and her minch-munching lover, with witnesses claiming that Frankie Smith was in shock, while Savannah Brockhill was screaming hate crime at the top of her lungs and claiming it was discrimination, and she taunted cops, saying every one of them should start looking for a new job. But the cops were looking, but it wasn't for a new job. And they started to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and what they found far exceeded what they could ever have imagined.
This has been a particularly upsetting, distressing investigation for everybody involved. No child should ever suffer as Star suffered, and particularly not at the hands of those that are supposed to be caring for them.
And as the publicity started to grow, along with the shock and the disgust, people started to come forward, and all had a tale to tell. It was at a recycling plant that Brockhill worked part-time as a night security guard that her car was spotted on CCTV footage, and Star can be seen in the back seat, strapped into a car seat, with moments later, Brockhill parking, then turning around and punching the child over 30 times in the face while she's still strapped in a seat, then dragging the kid out of the car by her neck, then throwing her on the ground and stomping on her head. Then she's seen inside, hanging the child up like a bag of meat, using her as a punching bag, like some sort of toddler's fight club. And then when she finished her shift, guarding the garbage, she packed up the unconscious kid, threw her in the car, and went home. Hardened officers literally cried while watching the footage. They'd never seen anything like it before. There seemed no rhyme, no reason to the cruelty put upon a child that wasn't even out of her diapers. And the cold-hearted bitch who was fond of accusing everyone else of a hate crime was caught on camera committing the ultimate hate crime. The hate crime against a child.
When the final whistle blows, I'll be standing by the stairs, and I'm ready to implode, ready to dissolve. Then the curtain shall come down, people clap so dark and insincere, whisper in my ear. Live up, scream out, secret thoughts that drag you down. I don't wanna be a thorn in your side no more. I pray to the God of the frail, I'm on my way. I pray for judgment day. I pray to the God of the frail, I'm on my way. I pray for judgment day. That is all I'm asking for. Being happy when you're poor. The simplest thing to do, the hardest thing to say. Live up, scream out, secret thoughts that drag you down. I don't wanna be a thorn in your side no more. I pray to the God of the frail, I'm on my way. I pray for judgment day. I pray to the God of the frail, I'm on my way. I pray.
That bug says, no more.